Introduction. Artwork is meaningless in the absence of form and the content. Are forms and content inseparable? The first question that is frequently asked is, what is it? Or what does it mean? Hence, to understand further, this lesson will discuss the subject types of art, the source of subjects, kinds of subjects, and content in art. Learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, the student should be able to understand the different subjects of the arts, distinguish between representational and non-representational art subject types, recognize the various types of subjects, and analyze the meaning of the different content of art. The subject type of art. According to Mark Fussell, there are three types of art to be considered: the representational, the abstract, and the non-representational. The representational art. Representational art is art that is an actual object in reality. Representational art has subcategories which include realism, impressionism, idealism, and stylization. For example, a self-portrait, or when one draws or paints exactly like what is being portrayed. The abstraction. Abstraction is a type of art that takes the subject into reality, but in a different representation. Elements are being represented that transform the subject. For example, if an artist is painting a tree but not as the tree that is being represented, then it is a tree but not the actual tree. In other words, the subject conveys a message in which the perception of the perceiver is different from what is to be perceived. An abstract type of art evolved during the 19th century, when both Impressionism and Expressionism were methods that were used. For example, distortion of the real basis of art. Thus, if the artist begins with reality, then it is an abstract art form, but not the actual representation. A non-objective or non-representational type of art is only made by a subject for aesthetic purposes. One might say that this type of art is the same as abstract art, but it is often the mistake of the perceiver. How can one recognize if an art object is abstract or non-object art? Very simple. If an artist starts with no reference to reality, then the actual output is called non-objective or non-representational art. The sources of subject. Sources in art may take any form, such as artwork, autobiographies, films of the artist, artifacts of the artist, photographs of the artist, etc. If one tries to analyze the sources of art, its focus is on the artist's work. Why? Precisely because it is original. Primarily, the artist's work is informative, in such a way that the perceiver is obligated to think critically about such artwork. One of the sources of art is natural history itself. The actualization of one artwork originates from nature. Nature provides the materials for the construction of houses and other infrastructure, simply because it is necessary for humanity to live, which is its very purpose. But this does not end here. Speaking of purpose, the idea is for the artist to procreate God creation, by developing things toward perfection, and discovering new things out of what has been developed. Thus, devaluing art is the start of the depletion of nature. Another source of art is history, and the product of it is none other than its written output. A very concrete example is literature. Examples of literature: sacred text, Greek and Roman mythology, Judeo-Christian tradition, other text art, etc. Thus, there are only two sources for the subject: art, nature, the cosmos or the universe, and literature. Other sub-sources are the mediums of art, and other technological artifacts. Kinds of subject. There are several kinds of subject matter in art, which include landscape, portrait, still life, historical, figurative, social, political, etc. According to Thaneo McCardle, landscape refers to an artwork whose primary focus is natural scenery, such as mountains, forests, cliffs, trees, rivers, valleys, etc. In other words, the surroundings are the basis for one's art. Meaning, one can freely picture them to portray the present moment. The style, the way the artist lay out, may occur upon perceiving the moment of transformation of his or her art. That is the reason why, according to Blumberg, landscape paintings embrace the freedom of abstraction to form by way of line, color, and form the last remaining remnants of a traditional landscape into mere suggestions of the natural and built world. Another example: portrait in art. A portrait is a depiction of a certain individual. A self-portrait is a self-portrait taken by the artist themselves. Thus, all subject matter in arts gives a meaning that requires humanity to reflect and understand art's essence. The contents in art. The term content refers to the meaning of the work's subject matter. To understand the meaning of content, one should also understand forms. This term is important because its use is to designate a genre, pattern, and rhymes. The term forms, according to Dorothy Baranskit, refers to the work's composition, techniques, the use of media, and the implementation of the different elements of design. Thus, without form in an artwork, the content is meaningless. Now, there are three levels of meaning in the content of art: factual, conventional, and subjective. The factual meaning refers to statements that are literally or narratively directly apprehended, in which the content object of the artwork is easily recognized when an artist presents their work. The conventional meaning refers to the elements of a particular artwork, presented by an artist, to symbolize or depict a group of people or culture. In other words, the colors, lines, and other elements of art, that is, a flag, indicate to what country or organization they belong. The subjective meaning of art refers to the subjective definition, in which an artist conveys a particular articulation of art. In other words, the lines and colors of a symbol, that is, a red heart, may be defined as compassion, love, martyrdom, etc.